This is the 21.5 Show.
You're on 121.5, the emergency frequency.
Whether you're a professional pilot or want to be one, you're in the right place.
Let's get started.
Join professional aviators Dylan and Max as they talk their experience in the airlines, business aviation, and more.
Life is good.
Industry experts, unique stories, and plenty of fun. This is the 21.5 Show.
Here we go.
2024.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. New year, new show. Dylan has a new haircut.
Very tight cut. Hello, Max. How's 2024 going for you?
It's awesome. I love
Good.
life. What do I got to complain about? I'm sitting in the Sheridan in Albuquerque, uptown right now. Just
Take control.
owning the overnight, you know?
You have to.
Not exactly on this one.
Welcome, folks. It is the 21.5 Show, the show for professional pilots, hosted by two very active, very busy professional pilots. My name is Dylan, full-time in the business aviation arena, joined by my co-host, Maxwell. Hello.
Also in business aviation and in the airline business.
And what a business it is.
Indeed.
I'd like to congratulate you on a tentative agreement that was recently announced over the break. Sounds like it's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. Sounds like it. Yeah. My view on these things is don't get too hyped up. Let the union do their job. But then once they present you with a TA, then it's time for you to do your job, which is to educate yourself, spend the time, and make an informed decision. So I'm in the education phase currently.
Good.
There's a lot. It's great. Now, I tell you, the podcast platform is the best. Our union has a podcast for every section.
Oh, wow.
As soon as this thing hit, they had pre-recorded all of this. And they went through each section.
Oh.
Like each section they had AIP'd, they had agreed on. Then they record a podcast. So as soon as the TA, they dropped like 20 podcasts, like 20, 30 minutes, at most, each one on each section, and explains everything that went into that section. It's pretty cool.
That's super smart. Are they still doing those like road shows?
The traditional ways, they, pack their bags and everybody goes out on the road, and they still hold the road shows.
Yeah.
But now they record them, and you can click on recorded links, which is one thing. And two, I asked people in this group I have of local Southwest guys, I'm like, hey, is anybody going to go to the road show? Maybe we could, get some beers after and talk about it. But everyone's busy and whatever. And I didn't really have the time either. So nobody went to the road show, but you can watch it but I listened to all the podcasts. Very good. Very informative.
That's super smart. It's so smart because it's just like, if you can talk about the process of where you arrived at, plus people trying to interpret a document, like it just seems like people having a conversation about it seems like the way to go. So,
well, yeah. And it's somebody, they have, they're asking questions about it. It's good. It's really good.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Swappa.
Yeah.
Our contract is going to be changing here for 2024. Our contract with the listeners, Max. We've got a couple of changes coming up for the show in 2024. We've been bouncing around with some new ideas for the structure. So we're going to try something out for a little while, and you guys let us know if you like it or if you don't. We're going to try breaking up the show a little bit and releasing episodes every week, hopefully. And the way that we're going to do it is we're going to split the show into two. We're going to do the interview with the guest, if we've got a guest, as a standalone episode where we'll basically just do a quick intro, focus on the guest, and then we're out. And then the next week, we will have flight advice and the mailbag and our ridiculous banter kind of as a second episode. So we're kind of thinking it's going to be like 2 45-minute episodes, and we're going to break up our traditional episodes. Pretty much all the same content, just the way that we're sending it out to you is going to be broken up a little bit. So we're going to give it a shot. So we're going to really be excited to hear about your feedback on how we're doing this. But I thought it might be a little bit more useful. We get a ton of emails from folks asking, like, can you do more episodes? I have to commute to work every week. I'd like to listen to you guys. So we thought maybe this would be a better way to do it. I don't know.
That's like your kid. Can I have another piece of cake?
Yeah.
Sure. And you cut the one in half. Here you go. Here's two pieces.
Here's two. Yeah, it's great.
I don't think they're going to fall for it, Dylan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
These are highly educated aviators we're talking about here.
We'll see. You know what it's like? It's like getting interest on a savings account of U.S. dollars that are constantly being devalued.
If you throw in like a free keychain or something, everyone will be all about it,
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to give it a shot. You let us know.
Wait, did you say free?
Oh, So that's right. Doubling our podcasts and cutting them in half at the same time.
Genius. Wow, you almost slid that one by.
Yeah,
Good work.
Almost. So let us know what you think. Today's episode will just be mailbag and flight advice. We have a special Diamond Dog joining us. We're going to do a little extra extended flight advice. So I think you guys will enjoy that. And then we'll, of course, hit the mailbag, which ironically there's not a ton in. So it is what it is.
Hey, listen.
It's the way it goes sometimes.
Rains and pours.
Yeah.
At least we're not making up email.
That's right.
At least we're honest.
That is right. So before we get into all that, Max, funny little story of we both on Monday had trips to Orange County. And so we had this podcast recording scheduled for Monday, but it looked like it was all going to work out. Like we were both going to fly to Orange County on different airplanes and then do the recording while we were sitting in the FBO. The guests would never know. It'll be great. And then we'll fly home. And how slick is that? We're killing two birds with one stone. Yeah, what could go wrong?
The best part is I'm like, oh, what FBO are you going to? ACI? Oh, me too. Perfect. Great. And I think that's where it started. You're like, well,
Yeah.
we're going to ACI South. I'm like, oh, we're going to ACI North. So it may as well be a different FBOs. But that didn't really matter.
No.
I mean, frankly, we were both going to be on our own computers. Like, yeah. So it didn't really make a difference. But
Then I don't even know. To explain like what happened next as far as you got an opportunity to do something cool.
so I had this other plan where my buddy Ken, who he was on episode, I don't know, whatever it was, he's the crop duster
Yeah.
pilot. And he also dropped fruit flies from a King Air, remember, over the LA basin as well.
Unbelievable stories, yeah.
Crazy job. But anyway, so Ken is a Murphy Moose guy. This is the kind of airplane that I have. And Ken got the idea to convert his Moose from the M14P radial engine to a PT6 -21, or -20, a 550 horsepower. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a pretty good idea, Ken.
Okay.
So he did like a real professional deal with the company that does turbine conversions for spray paint planes. He teamed up with them, some people he worked for, and they did like a really, really good job.
Okay.
So anyway, so I've been obviously drooling over checking this airplane out and flying it. So Ken, he winters in the off season. Well, he actually retired from crop dusting. So I sold his business, lived to tell the tale, I say. That's what I told
Right.
him. He goes, I sold my spray business. I'm like, and you're still alive. That's like a win-win.
That's it. Yeah, you got to know when to get out, right?
He laughed pretty hard. He's like, you're so anyway, so he flies his Moose, and this one he has is on amphibious floats, right? So it's down at Fullerton Airport. It's like 25 minutes from Orange County. So I'm like, perfect. We'll be there. And then we're going to land there at like 8:30 or 9. And
Yeah.
we're supposed to podcast at like 11:30, right? Or whatever. So we get there. We're on time. We hop in, we jump in the crew car, we drive out to Fullerton, we meet Ken, I salivate over the airplane for a little while, check it out, and then we pull it out and we blast off. Ridiculous, dude. I mean, it's so cool, start up and it's turbine and the whole thing. And I got some videos. Our unofficial 21.5 videographer, also known as the other pilot I fly with, Christian, was at work in the back seat. So we pull out and we take the runway, and he adds the power, and we go, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's so smooth. All of a sudden, he pushes it to full power, and he didn't even go to full power, actually, is what he told me after the fact. But, dude, Christian and I are both like, whoa. It was like just slam you in your seat. It's like acceleration that I was not ready for. And even with floats and amphibs, I mean, which doesn't help with the performance situation. But, we blast off and climbs like a raped ape. It's unreal. So it was pretty cool. And then I flew it, and we flew out over the ocean, and we flew right down the seawall there of Long Beach Harbor.
Yeah.
And all the container ships and stuff at like 400 feet. Because, I mean, you're in a seaplane, so if anything happens, you can land. Or he could have landed. But it was pretty cool. We went on a little sightseeing tour in the Turbine Moose, came back. It's incredible. That's a whole nother story. So we hopped back in the car, and we're going back to the airport. And then I'm getting these texts from Dylan, still haven't departed yet. Still on the ground. The principal's late. I'm like, God, this is falling apart rapidly. So
I'm emailing the guest at this point. I'm like, hey, can we delay? Is it okay? Is this going to work? Like, I'm probably running an hour late, but I don't know.
And then my guy texts, hey, we're going to be there. We're supposed to leave at 2. We're going to be there closer to 1. I'm like, oh my God. So we finished our Moose ride. We're on our way back. And I'm like, wow, this is going to be kind of close now. I'm like, if we're going to podcast, let's just order. I'm like, Christian, let's just order something we can order like on an app and pick up or whatever.
Yeah.
Quick. Because usually we go out. It's the whole thing for lunch and we go somewhere cool. But
Right.
and then let's get back to the airport and we'll just eat at the FBO or whatever. So we order, and we order these sandwiches, and we get the whole order done. And then, literally seconds after we order it, I get a text message from the owner of the airplane. We're here, no rush. So he's waiting, and he's done before. When he says no rush, he actually means it. He's just like, yeah, whatever. And I've told him, I'm like, look, if you want us to be ready to, shut the door and go, you got to communicate. Yeah. Let me know a little better. But if not, if you're not in a hurry and you don't feel like it, whatever, we'll get going.
Right.
And we'll go. This is not the first time this happened, but nobody seems upset, so it's all good. And I told Christian, I'm like, look, this is not a situation to rush. We're just going to get ready and we'll go. And that's how, if you rush, you're going to screw stuff up. So,
right.
So anyway, we bypass our sandwiches. We get to the FBO. I don't even know if you're there yet. You still haven't landed, I don't think.
No, I've just landed, and I called you, and I'm like, all right, I'm getting my laptop out and the microphone, and I'll be on it. And you're like, yeah, the passengers are here. We're out.
It's typical.
Yeah. So we thought we were going to outsmart the system and get a remote recording out of it, but that's not the way business aviation works.
Luckily, our guest was very flexible, so that was cool.
He was very flexible. We still got it recorded later on. So that's what makes the podcasting a little bit difficult when you've got corporate pilots.
The best part is when whoever we're interviewing is also a pilot. It's just...
Yeah, then it's the third one. It's just like, So, hey, we did it. It was amazing, but I thought that was a good story to illustrate the challenges that we have to overcome sometimes when we get to shows. But with all that being said, people are still enjoying the podcast, Max. We've got some new reviews. I don't know if you're interested in sharing some of those.
How many reviews do we have?
Well, why don't you start reading the first one and then I will tell you.
Bang Up Podcast. Very entertaining and informative for someone that is new to aviation. You guys keep me laughing out loud. I appreciate the information you guys constantly put out, and I consider this one of my go-to podcasts for aviation information. P.S. Joel's voice is growing on me.
Yeah.
Don't get too attached.
But it's still good. I mean, his voice is still out there, so it's good.
If I were writing us, what would you title the review?
Definitely top 40.
This is definitely in my top 40 aviation podcast. And that guy wrote that. Bang Up Podcast. Wouldn't it be great if we got one that just says, this podcast slaps?
Slaps.
That's the one I want.
We'll get a Gen Z guy to write that. We'll get that soon.
One day.
It will slap. Double stickers for someone that leaves us that review.
All right, what's the tally? Did you get it?
Yeah, we've got about 97 written reviews and 245 ratings. Yeah. It's a thick library. I mean, it's been 5 years, bro.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was from I spent 20 minutes trying to find a name. Was the first review.
All right, go ahead, and you're next.
Second one is from Jeremy86. Top tier podcast. This podcast really slaps. Oh, no. That's sad. Real dudes talking about real stuff. A refreshing podcast that discusses the ins and outs and everyday life that pilots endure. Not the TikTok, Instagram version. As a military pilot transitioning to the airlines, I find this podcast insightful. I've definitely spread it around the hangar in hopes of bringing along others with me on this journey. No, thank you. Thank you for spreading the word. We're definitely not TikTokers. One more comes in the form of an email from Randy. It says, the 21.5 podcast is a favorite in my playlist. I appreciate your insider look at both commercial and business aviation and recommend the podcast extensively to fellow aviators. I'm retired from the Air Force as a navigator and pursuing pilot ratings to return to aviation. Thanks for an entertaining, encouraging, and fun podcast with fresh content. Thank you, Randy. If you've written a review for the podcast, shoot us an email, info@215podcast.com. Give me your mailing address. We'll be happy to shoot some stickers your way. Appreciate everyone that has taken the time to write a review. Oh, one other thing, Max, I wanted to mention to you about Orange County. After our interview canceled, I went on the destination guide, which we have, and our buddy David made the Orange County one for us, and then a bunch of people have added stuff. Unbelievable ramen we found within like a mile of ACI South.
Oh, at that place?
Yeah. I think it was called Hiro Nori. That was like all time. So go check that one out. Definitely worth the visit.
Did we add the Taiwanese dumpling place onto there? You got to add that.
Oh, Din Tai Fung?
Yeah, Din Tai Fung.
Yeah, that's unreal.
Oh,
yeah.
Very good.
That soup dumpling and the
oof.
Yeah. I think there's one good stuff. Yeah, we'll add that one. All right, coming up, the much hyped mailbag, which is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Advanced Aircrew Academy. We are, because we're making a standalone episode about it.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. That mailbag, of course, has been brought to you for many years by our friends at Advanced Aircrew Academy, aircrewacademy.com. You know all of the products they have for your flight department. They have educational modules on winter operations, CPDLC, weather radar, just to name a few. They also have a really handy blog. And this is a good time to mention their most recent blog post. It's Ban on Falling in Love, Mental Health Conundrum in Aviation. And I'm just going to tease it as a good precursor to our next episode, which we're going to tackle more about mental health in aviation. But go read that blog post. We'll have a link in the show notes for you. But they do a good job of covering some of the realities of this topic right now. And we'll have a guest that addresses a lot of that in next show.
Hey, did I tell you I'm a current student of Aircrew Academy?
No.
Yeah. I am currently in the international procedures training.
Interesting.
Module by module. Yeah, it's very good. Very impressed.
I mean, is it like teaching you how to like plot courses and do all that kind of stuff?
No, I'm not. I'm not done with it yet, so I don't know. But it's just a standard international procedures training. So it's for, oceanic stuff, Central and South America and Caribbean, just all the stuff, all the things that you need to complete to then submit for your LOAs, which is why I'm doing it.
Okay. Good for you. Well, you'll have to give us a full briefing when it's done.
I will. I will give you a full review, fully unbiased review.
Perfect.
Because I already know it's good, so I can say that.
Aircrewacademy.com. Thank you so much. On to the mailbag. You want to go with the first one?
Thanks for the podcast. Your content is always interesting, spanning from directly educational shows to fun stories like Roger Reeves interviews. Keep up the good work. Looking forward to the new episodes. Tailwinds and blue skies to you, Dave.
All right. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Next email. Hey, fellas, I've been listening to the podcast since early 2021 when I was building time as a Cirrus flight instructor. The comparisons and insights you've both provided have given me invaluable insight into this unique level of life we call aviation. I avoided the flow bottlenecks at the majors by choosing a Part 135 carrier who offered quick upgrades to the left seat. With the help of an ERAU worldwide campus bachelor's and a nice suit for the interview, I was able to land my dream job at Delta Airlines in just under 5 years from taking my first flight in a 172 that had steam gauges and mostly in-op VORs for navigating the friendly skies. I am writing in today to get your thoughts on the junior captain upgrade being offered by the majors currently. I know it is always subject to change, but it currently sits at about 11 months of seniority. This is clearly a quality of life / pay decision, but for a young pilot willing to give up his schedule for a few years, would you guys personally welcome this challenge? Some more senior pilots say to get a few years in the right seat because you don't know what you don't know, but at the same time, if you can pass the training in OE, nobody knows everything, and many of us are eager to learn. I wanted to get your thoughts on this, and thank you all for the advice over the years. Congrats on the Southwest TA as well, and that's from Nolan.
Well, yeah, he's right. It's certainly a money versus quality of life. Maybe a little bit of ego in there too, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that upgrading at your first 121 job after 11 months is pretty aggressive. And, there's a lot to learn. Years of knowledge can be gained from sitting in the right seat. I still learn stuff all the time. So I don't think that, not to say that a lot of people before you have done it and it seems to be working out. When you say a few years, though, I would be careful about that, because if you listen to our last episode, we were insinuating that the things are slowing down. I think a lot of hard evidence since that episode has come out that the brakes are definitely being applied here in the airline industry, which will trickle down to everything else. That's just kind of the way it works. And so moving to the left seat and thinking, I'll just be on reserve. Maybe it'll be a few years. Who knows? It could be a long time, man. But not to say that you can't bid back either, right?
Yeah. I don't know how their contract works.
It's like once you go, I don't know how it works either. But most places, you can bid back.
It's a year, let's say like a year seat lock probably.
Yeah, there's usually a seat lock involved. But my point is, it's not once you upgrade, that's it.
Yeah.
Like you can never go back.
Right.
Like that's generally not the case. So, the thing is, if he started flying 5 years, I would assume that he's a fairly young dude. It's like, you got a long time here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too anxious. Smell the roses a little bit. get comfortable in your seat before you move to another seat. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The other thing too is that there's a reason why that upgrade is at 11 months. Like, it's not because nobody, there's a lot of people that can hold that are bypassing, but most of those people probably have kids and, obligations on the weekends or whatever. So teach is out and,
It's not career suicide if you do it. I don't think it's like a make or break decision. I personally would recommend that you don't. I just feel like you can learn a lot from flying with captains that have seen more than you. And like you said, Max, I still learn all the time. And with the amount of experience you have, I'd be a little nervous saying, not that it would be unsafe, but you probably wouldn't be able to develop some leadership skills and some other things quite as quickly as if you could watch some people, good and bad captains. You're going to learn some stuff and you're like, I love the way this captain does something, or I hate the way this captain does something. And I just feel like there's a lot of value in watching that. So
it's the old adage, just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Right.
And here's the thing. If you were a 45-year-old former captain at SkyWest that had been a captain for 10 years, and then you're going to quickly upgrade to the left seat of a narrow body airplane and fly to a lot of the same destinations and do a lot of the same thing you were doing, that's one thing. If you got hired with restricted ATP minimums or close to, and this is your first 121 job, and which is kind of what it sounds like, then, you have to take a serious look in the mirror and be like, just because you can from a seniority standpoint, you have a responsibility to yourself and all of the people in the back that you're truly ready to do it. And if you're not, if there's any question, then don't.
Yeah.
That's it at the end of the day, right? I mean, you don't have to ask us. And that would depend in your 11 months or your year of flying in 121. How many Cat 3 approaches have you done? How many times have you diverted? Things that don't happen all of the time that you kind of have to wait around for those things to rear their heads. And some people are more lucky or unlucky, depending on how you look at it. And those things happen a lot in a year. And some people, they don't happen at all. So it just depends. And, how many times have you held and had to figure out your bingo fuel and looked at, just stuff like that. It's going A to B when everything's normal is fine. But it's the 1% of times that you really want to look yourself in the mirror and see if you're ready for that.
Here's the other question, and you don't mention this. We're kind of assuming that this is a younger person. It would depend, too, on your age. I think from purely the standpoint is if you're 26 and you're a captain and you're flying around with a crew that's much more senior than you and you're the young person, I don't know what that dynamic would be like. And I can't imagine, you know what I mean, Max? Like, I feel like there could be times where people are like, all right, baby captain, like, whatever.
Well, and there's a respect thing too from your peers. Like you said, the other crew members, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Like, all right, sure. Yes, you bid this. Congratulations, you bid captain. But like, yeah. Or, maybe this person is in their second career. Maybe they're in their late 50s and they're like, I want to be captain because I'm only going to be around for,
Yeah.
That could be, if that's the case, okay, that may be a little bit different and there may be less generational hurdles, we'll say. So I think the age does matter a little bit there, but assuming that you're in your 20s, I'd say right seat it for a little while and enjoy.
No matter what you do, I demand that you write us back in 6 months and let us know what you decided and what you think of your decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally put it in your phone as a reminder. 6 months from today.
Boom.
Follow up with the 21.5 show.
That's right.
I have a question. I don't know that we need to put labels on it.
Okay.
You're kind of the points guru, I would say. Like, you're my diamond dog when I have a question about some sort of rewards, points, or status or whatever.
Okay. You sure?
So I stay in a lot of Marriott and Hilton properties and whatever. I'm generally too lazy to put my rewards number in with the front desk because we don't get points.
Yeah.
You don't get at the airlines, just in case you don't know, you generally do not get points for your stays. But they're like, oh, but we'll give you the stays. All I know is when I go and I want a free hotel room, it requires points. So
right.
my motivation is not very high. And you can also put your rewards points in, and then you can charge your meals to the room and get some shrapnel points that way.
Yeah.
Is it worth it or not? Do you know the answer to this question? Is it worth it to do that? What do the Knights do? I don't understand the Knights.
So the Knights are required to keep your status, right? So you have to hit a certain threshold. So I'm going to say this off the top of my head, could be wrong. Like Marriott's like 50 nights to get to platinum, which is what you want, right? Platinum's sort of the status where you start to get things and like free breakfast and that kind of stuff. So you're in a weird situation because you do still fly corporate. So you are going to earn some points, probably not a ton, but some. This is the one thing I would maybe think about here. This could apply to a lot of pilots that are maybe going from corporate to 121. Have you met your lifetime status, and how close are you to lifetime status? Because lifetime status is worth getting. So I believe, again, I could be wrong. I believe for Marriott, lifetime platinum is 600 nights. And I think you have to have been a platinum for a certain amount. So you can go, you can check it in 10 seconds on your Marriott app right now. It's like very easy to look. So if you're, at 540, yeah, it's probably worth it for you to do that, because you'll get yourself over the threshold, probably in the next couple of years.
But don't you have to maintain platinum status while you're accumulating all of those nights?
Right, which maybe you can do between the airline plus a little bit of corporate flying. The other thing I was going to mention too is you can get the credit cards, which give you nights, right? So I have a business and a personal Marriott, which gives me 15 each. So that's 30. So now I've only got to get 20 nights a year. It's probably pretty doable at the airlines.
What if you're came from business aviation, you had some sort of status, and now you're at the airlines, but you're mid-level, you're not that close to getting platinum for life? Is it?
It's not going to do anything for you while you're at work. Probably, maybe you'll cock your way into a concierge lounge or something. Again, we've talked about this before. The main value, especially if you have kids, is when you're on personal travel and you can get free breakfast for your whole family. Because that's can legitimately be, $50, $60 that you're not going to have to spend. So my thought is, if there's a way for you to get yourself to the lifetime status via the nights, that's worth doing. The other thing I will mention, if you don't even want to mess with this, you can basically pay for a credit card through Hilton, their top card. I think it's called the Aspire, and you just pay the $400 fee a year and you get diamond status. No stays required or anything.
And there's no travel reimbursement on that $400 or anything. It's just straight.
Yeah, I don't know. You'd have to look at the details. But if status is important to you, but you're not going to hit the stays as an airline pilot, but you still want to be treated well, you could actually just buy the top tier status for about $400 a year.
Can you do that at Marriott?
Not at Marriott. You can't get high enough status with the card. They don't do it. So there's a couple different ways you could do it. But I would look at that lifetime deal for you and see, because you could be really close to a threshold where it would totally make sense.
I don't think so, because I've never really had that many nights, or been, even when I was corporate out for a long time, I just didn't do that many overnights,
So you go to your account, then you click lifetime. Right below your counter, it should say platinum or lifetime view progress.
Oh, lifetime gold elite. Oh, I see. Wait, lifetime platinum elite, 468 nights stayed of 600?
Yeah.
7 years of 10 of platinum elite. So does that mean that if I should be putting my nights in to close this 132 night gap?
Yeah. 10 years of platinum
and then
elite.
I would be lifetime platinum elite?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I can't think of a reason why you wouldn't do it.
Well, because you're lazy and you just don't want to deal with it. I learned a lot right there. I honestly had no idea I was lifetime gold elite, and I didn't know that I could make it to lifetime platinum elite, because it says nothing about points. It just says night stayed. And platinum elite is where you get the real benefits, right?
Breakfast and lounge. Yeah, that's really all you need. So if I was you, what I would do is I'd get the business and the personal cards. That gives you 30 nights a year. And then I'd just put your airlines on there. Boom, you're at 50. You're going to hit the platinum every year. And there you go. You're going to hit it within a few years. You'll be lifetime. And then you can do whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
Yeah. It's the world's your oyster at that point.
You've basically made it. So, okay, good. Good to know. Thank you.
100%. Yeah. All right. That is going to do it for the mailbag. info215podcast.com. If you've got something to say, do you have some points recommendations? Do you have a hack to airline pilot hotel status workaround? Let us know. Get us all informed. All right, Max. For our inaugural mailbag flight advice combo episode, we brought in a diamond dog, Nik Fialka. He is the host of the Ready for Pushback podcast. Navy pilot Nik. He's been on the show before. You all know him and love him. He is a career coach, and he had lots of great advice on a couple of flight advices, so we'll jump right into that. But before we do, one piece of flight advice for you. is to visit harveywatt.com. Harvey Watt is the largest provider of loss of medical insurance for pilots around the globe. Over 77,000 pilots are covered thanks to Harvey Watt. Your new TA at Southwest, they improved the coverage too, didn't they?
Yeah, till FAA retirement.
That's good. It's a good lesson for our listeners. Just because you have loss of license insurance in your contract, they're not all the same. That's all line item negotiation on the contract. So you can contact Harvey Watt. They'll tell you what your airline provides, and they'll tell you if you want to get additional coverage, like what Max is saying, maybe you want to extend that coverage from 5 years to end of retirement. They can do that for you. HarveyWatt.com. All right, let's go talk to Navy pilot Nik.
All right.
Max, we are so excited to have Diamond Dog Navy pilot Nik joining us, host of the Ready for Pushback podcast and noted Ferrari fan.
Hell yeah, man.
Welcome, Nik. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
I think that I had my Ferrari Cup going the last time we talked too. It's pretty much every day.
That's it. You did. Forgot.
That's right.
That's right.
I love me a Ferrari.
I'm still trying to
Big
forget.
Mattias fan.
No, he's out.
I know he is. That's why it's funny, Dylan.
Oh, okay. Jesus. Hi, Nik. How are you? What's going on?
Dude, I'm good. I'm thankful to be here. I'm glad that you guys invited me, and the fact that you said I'm a Diamond Dog, like, hell yeah.
Ow.
Like, let's go. Ow.
Well, we've got some flight advice from listeners. We need to jump in, and we need your assistance. You have been busy helping folks. Have you surpassed the amount of podcast episodes we've released? I think in like the last, it seems like you fire one out every day.
I put 2 out a week, and
Jeez.
I just passed 100.
Holy cow.
I am, yeah, so
That is so aggressive,
dude,
Nik.
I got to do it. And I'll tell you what, my 100th episode was taken right out of your book because I took one of your former interviewees and interviewed that person. Do you know who it was?
Recycled our interviewees?
Yep, sure did.
Who?
It was my wife, Anna.
There you go.
All right, Nik.
And did you guys talk a little bit about what it's like to be married to a pilot again?
Yeah, it was just us chit-chatting about our experiences because going from the military and then into the regionals and then into the ULCCs and then into the majors, we've moved a lot too. So lots of different ups and downs, things that have been great and things that have been really lousy. And, I just wanted to give her a chance to do it. So I poured her a glass of wine and then another glass and another glass. Then we recorded.
Well, I'm going to
Also,
check that
has
show
that one
out.
been released?
Yeah. Oh, it's out. It's on the streets.
I'll check that out.
Okay, that'll be good. She was such a great guest
I
on
don't know if
our
I
show.
do that with my wife. When she gets going.
Well, we should just record like the next family dinner because it sounds like it's basically the same.
My family dinner is basically chaos.
It sounds like it. All right, Nik. Well, we brought you on to help us answer some listener questions. You mentioned your background in the military, regionals, ULCC, and in majors. And this first email kind of touches on all that. So let's jump right in. It says, "Hi, 21.5 crew. Been listening to your podcast for a while now. And I have a very particular situation I feel you guys would be well equipped to offer some advice to. I'm currently 16 years in the Army and a rotor wing pilot. I am considering switching over to the Guard to be closer to my daughter while still being able to maintain some form of a military retirement. Because of where my daughter lives, which is Idaho, I'm also going to try and get on with either SkyWest Horizon or NetJets. Because of you guys, I'm well aware of the differences in lifestyle between fractionals and regionals, and I'm happy with either. My 2 questions are, how long is the hiring process for these airlines from application submission to first day of work? And I'm trying to get an idea of how long I'll have to live without a paycheck. And also, how well do these airlines, or any airline for that matter, work with National Guard pilots? Thanks for all your help and providing entertaining content." Oh, and this is a Roger Reeves fan. He says he's a national hero. So put that in that column. So, Nik, you have some experience as a rotor wing pilot in the military. You did a transition. Can you talk a little bit about some thoughts you might have for this listener?
Yeah, so there's a lot of layers to the onion of this question. And so the first thing I'm going to do is give some free advice. If you're not already part of the RTAG Nation Facebook group, Rotary to Air group, all the helicopter boys and girls, great opportunity to learn a lot and be able to you have access to a lot of people that can provide, a lot of it are hot takes, but a lot of people can provide pragmatic input and you can kind of get an understanding.
Hey, hold on, Nick. What is a hot take?
Oh,
Can you
hot
define?
takes, everybody's got one, man.
You don't know what a hot take is?
No.
A hot take is like something that just comes into your mind and you just spit it out. And it's hot, it's fresh, and it might be a little controversial.
It is hot, it is fresh, it is usually not well informed, and it usually has some pretty big flaws in it. And
Yes.
I see that a lot. Everybody wants to give a piece of advice about aviation. And whether you are really dive deep in it, or if you just happen to be walking past an airplane, you've got a hot take on some kind of advice that somebody should do something with their life. So be careful.
Good to know. Thank you.
No airline captains ever give hot takes, by the way.
Oh my God. Listen, go find yourself a 64-and-a-half-year-old guy and ask him how to get hired at a major. That would be great. Some really
Until
good
you
info
stumble
there.
That would be
Aviation.
funny. We should do
All right, we interrupted you.
Okay, so I will tell this. This is the first thing I think about. The statement that sticks out most is, hey, I could do the regionals or I could do the fractionals. It doesn't matter to me. I'm fine with both. And I want to disagree with that statement because you're currently fine with both. And pay scales that we have right now at the regionals are significant, and they are way more than they were just a couple years ago. All you got to do is look back about, I don't know, 30, 40 episodes from you guys, and we're talking about those letters of agreement that people are signing to pay their pilots more. And it just kind of became a self-licking ice cream cone to build this $100,000+ amount of wage. And, you guys were at Eagle. I'm sure you were making $100,000 a year, right?
Over the course
over
of
5
5 years.
years,
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was down in Irving, Texas as well, doing the same thing. And so that can come back, and that will likely come back. When it will come back, we'll see. But when it does come back, you've got to be ready to roll with that. And you've got to understand the fact that those are all letters of agreement. None of them are contractual. None of them are negotiated with pilot unions. Heck, SkyWest doesn't even have.
Are you sure none of them are? Didn't we have someone correct us on that?
There's two things to understand with the regionals. Yes, they can have pilot contracts with guaranteed wages, but the regionals are a fee for departure model, and their contracts with selling their capacity to airlines, that is what comes and goes.
Yeah, so the pay scales are negotiated. And then right now, all the bonuses and all the extra money you get and this and that, all of them with everybody that has a union are letters of agreement. And the company came to the union and said, hey, we want to offer these pay rates and this and that and the other, and we want to have a sundown on, and they keep renewing these letters of agreement. They all have a sundown date so that the company doesn't get bound into some kind of extended wage when they, so that's how all that trash goes.
Right.
What's better between the three? It just kind of depends on what you are willing to do. Right now, you've got SkyWest and Horizon, which are, when we're recording this today, our information is time late. If somebody listens to this episode 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 4 months from now, all this stuff could change. But currently, you've got an interview day that you've got to have enough time to get there first off. So if you're a helicopter person, they've got all their minimums. Maybe it's a couple hundred hours, maybe it's 500 hours, whatever the fixed wing time requirement is. Let's say you've got that. So you go ahead and you interview, and then you're going to go through the process. Right now, there are typical wait times between 3 months to 6.5 months. And those times, they can fluctuate. If they all of a sudden don't need first officers because there was a slowdown, or maybe aircraft delivery, or maybe somebody switched carriers, maybe, SkyWest loses a contract with an airline, or changes a contract or something like that. It can all affect massively your outcome. The living, I'm guessing he's probably going to live in like Boise or something like that. And that is pretty close. If you're going to be a hop, skip, and a jump to the airport, like that's great. Is that going to be fulfilling to you for your whole life? Right now, I feel like in the Army, in the military at all, you have these glasses on where you're looking over the wall and you're thinking, man, that looks so nice, man. I could live off $120,000 a year, no problem. And then I'll keep the reserves and I'll make another extra couple $1,000s a month. That's fine. You can, but then you're just going to get hungry for more, right? And that's just how it goes. And so you're going to go down the process. All of it has to do with your family scenario and how married to the idea of living in Idaho you really are. The NetJets thing could be a great opportunity. I think you want to talk about a place you could be for a really long time. Like that's a long-term thing. They're in negotiations right now. They will certainly end up on the positive side of that. And they are a great organization that I would, if I could choose, if my wife didn't mind me be gone for a week and then home for a week and gone for a week, then that would fit my style. For me, it's different than our family needs. That's that. As far as what the Guard does, man, I recommend to every single military person, stay in the reserve somehow. You never know when COVID Part 25 is going to happen, and then all of a sudden you're going to need to go back into the military, or maybe, who knows what it is. When I was in the military, I was living in Texas last time, and I had an opportunity to pick up a set of orders for 180 plus days. And when I was a Texas resident, there was a special gig where there's a thing called the Hazelwood Act, which is for Texas residents to give you basically a second GI Bill. And that was an awesome benefit that I thought was well worth it. So I was at a major and went ahead and decided to pick up a set of orders for that. So the flexibility there is awesome, and the companies trip over themselves to be supportive of it. And I'm very thankful. If you take advantage of it, it's a quick way to get smashed. But I haven't met a company yet that is not completely for people participating in the military as well as their airline job. It's pretty easy. But if you're going to commute to both, it's going to be a hard life. So that's a whole nother show. That's definitely a tricky thing. So try not to commute to both.
Yeah.
Or any.
Yeah. Let me clarify what I was mentioning before with the fee for departure and the LOAs. We're kind of mixing some things up. My point is, I think you did a good job of explaining the clarity on what's going to happen over the course of more than a few years. It's very difficult to tell what's going to happen, and things can go up and things can go down because they're fee for departure based, and their contracts that they're going to bid with airlines in the future, we don't know. So SkyWest could have a Boise base now, but we lost the contract with Alaska or whoever, and now we're doing flying for United, and then we're going to be in Chicago. And so that part changes a lot. And so to make a long-term plan on a regional would be very concerning to me versus a NetJets where home basing is probably not going away. You're supplying the feed directly for the customer. You're not, bidding your work out to a third party. So I think that those are completely different things and something to think about.
Yeah. And I think to Nick's point, don't be naive to think that either one of those is going to be the end game for you. It is what it is. The whole aviation industry, from a pilot perspective, it's all a trickle down from the big airlines. That's it. It just is. The market is, it all trickles down because the big airlines are the big vacuum at the top of the hay pile and everything else is below it. And so that's for a reason, right? Because of the money and everything else. And so don't think that that's going to be your final stop. You at least be open-minded to think that, hey, this may not be it. I may want to do something
But we
else in a couple
salute
of
what
years.
he's
But
trying to do, which
absolutely.
is, I don't want to commute, but I need to live in Idaho. So how do I do that?
How do I figure it out? Yeah,
So-
that's a good idea. And that doesn't mean it's for everybody. I'm speaking in a general sense. That's how it works. But there's a lot of people, we have friends that are lifers at all other places. So
Yeah, you need to be okay with it if the music stops, right? You think about the men and women that ended up being lifers at regionals, not because they wanted to, but because of September 11th and bankruptcies and all the timing.
it's all timing. But also what Nick said is wise advice is to have some other irons in the fire, have the ability to pivot, have something else to do.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know, man. Sometimes people hire till they fire the next week. You just don't know what's going to happen. And so the more flexibility you have and options you have, the better.
I would say in general, Nick, you probably know better than I do. You mentioned, the needs of a regional, and because most of them don't need first officers, really, they need captains. That's kind of the big bottleneck. Whereas NetJets, I think, can actually just hire people without sort of that issue. So my guess is that you'll get a paycheck faster going to NetJets. Would you guess that also?
You'll get a paycheck faster. Your pace at which you are working will be much more volatile depending on what fleet you end up on. So you could be in a sweet gig where you're not flying a whole lot, or you could be one where you're doing 4 legs a day for 7 days straight. And so
for sure.
Really what I'll tell people is grow where you're planted. Just choose one and just go. And the hemming and the hawing, you're never going to find the right answer. I spend a lot of my time coaching people, talking about what is best for them and their spouse and their family and what they see in 10 and 20 and 30 years. And everything ends up being well, you're just going to have to pick one. So I tell them I probably should have stayed single. Makes it easier.
Yeah. No kidding.
Now's not the time to be waffling about something, because we are already seeing your last episode, you talked about, could things slow down? I feel like we are already seeing major levers moving. And since we are, that is so important to just make your decision, get someplace, and decide if that's where you want to be, or if you need to keep moving forward.
Well, and the other thing too is getting kind of caught in the mindset that a lot of people have in the last few years, which is trying to make decisions before there's offers, right?
Yeah.
And so especially as things slow down and we start seeing the brakes being pumped, put your stuff in everywhere. And by the time you get a call, it may be you're going whoever calls you first.
Yeah.
And if you have more options than that later on, then you can reassess at that point. But as we slow, we've had the luxury of being able to say, oh, well, let's see. Do I want to go to which airline do I want to go to? Let me talk to my wife about this, and then I will select where I'd like to go. That has not been the norm for a very long time at all.
It just became 50% harder to get hired by Delta. So just like that.
And everywhere else, man. It's just So,
and I think the other thing is too, regional or NetJets, either move, that's not going to hurt you in the long run either.
No.
Like if either of those moves, they're going to be great experience and they're going to be able
at the end of the day, it's aviation.
Either of those is a good move.
Make a move, build valuable experience, and so you're in the right position when the next opportunity
That's right.
arises.
Good job, guys.
You mentioned that things were getting a little harder at Delta, so let's talk about it.
All right.
Another email comes in and says, hi there, I'm a 35-year-old first officer with Frontier Airlines that lives and is based in Atlanta. This is good. Remember, we asked people to tell us where they live, and this makes it
Does he
so
have
much more
kids that can
helpful.
babysit? Because
Oh, calm down, Nick.
Hang on, Nick.
We don't have a full dossier here. It's not the FBI.
that's all I need, babysitters.
35-year-old FO with Frontier lives and based in Atlanta. One of my primary concerns is not having a commute or to move again. I've had great schedule flexibility and roughly 17 to 18 days off a month. I recently interviewed with Delta and did not get the conditional job offer. Not sure if their company culture is a fit for me. Frontier is currently under negotiations for a new contract, and I'm wondering if I should try to get on with Southwest, stick it out at Frontier, or suck it up and try again with Delta. Thanks for the advice.
Okay, so if you don't feel like you're a fit for Delta, don't suck it up, because you're never going to be happy. The end. If you don't like hats, don't go
I
after
think
the
that
hat.
every time in the day.
Listen,
Everybody carrying their hats, nobody wearing their hats. That's what I see going on at the airport.
it just depends when you're too fat to buckle the double-breasted suit. That's why we went single-breasted.
That's why they give you the 2 rows. That way you can grow
right.
into it.
It's, Fat Pilots of Instagram. Go check it out. Somebody please go make that.
Is that real?
I don't think so, but I need it to be, and I keep talking about it. So hoping one person will do it.
That's so bad. Dude, the answer to his question is yes.
Yeah, go after Southwest.
Because
That's what I say.
go after Southwest. If you think you want to be a Delta, put in your stuff at Delta too. And after all that, you may be staying at Frontier. That's the mindset you have to have. Like, again, making decisions before there's if you think there's a possibility, then apply. And then interview.
Yes.
And then if they offer you a job, then say, okay, do I really want to go here? The answer is yes.
The answer to this question would have been way easier 90 days ago before the TA at Southwest. I would like to also say that Frontier recently opened Atlanta, and Frontier can open and close bases in a sneeze. And they have been known to do that and just draw one down and plus one up. And then what? And with their business model that they're switching, I think they said May. Guys, I apologize if I'm wrong. April, May, I think they said they're moving toward that Allegiant model. They say Ryanair because they don't like to say Allegiant out loud. But, that home base model, well, if your base closes, then what? Southwest has been in Atlanta for a long time. Will they stay in Atlanta forever? Well, it's not Love Field. So maybe not.
It's a smaller base. It's very senior.
It is for sure senior.
But it is a base, and it has been since because it came from AirTran.
Yep.
And it's been there for a long time. Southwest isn't really in the business of closing down bases very often. They're more in the business of opening new bases because they reach capacity at a current base, which, like you said, Love Field or Midway, those are limited, and that's why there's branching out. And they're opening 2 more bases this year. So it all drives from the top is much more stable. The routes go much deeper at those bases, and some more than others. Like you said, it's not the headquarters, but you got to play the odds in this game.
I like your point about the fact that it's a senior base. And when you take a snapshot of the Southwest pilot group, it's definitely a much younger pilot group than any of the other majors. So that is certainly being 35 years old by the time you ratchet your way up. When you decide to upgrade as a captain, if you're not going to commute, you're going to have to wait that much longer. And there are going to be a lot of times where you're leaving Atlanta to go fly somewhere else. And I'm sure you can talk to that a little bit, but it's never fun.
Well, I mean, honestly, not really, because I don't have any intention of going there. So you have to look at the base demographics and see, like, a lot of the people in Atlanta were people that worked at AirTran. Those people will time out at some point, right? I mean, that's been a minute now since that merger or acquisition, whatever. And so if you really want to get into the weeds about it, you'd have to really look specifically at that base and see what's going on. But as of right now, it is senior. It's not that bad for FOs. I mean, there's a lot of people that have gotten there, and just getting there, even if you're, I would much rather be junior and live in base than commute to be more senior. But a lot of people commute for seniority, so to each his own.
I'm 94% in base, and I am just the happiest guy in base because I drive to work.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
It's true.
And Nick, the other thing we've talked about before, and I know we kind of said probably Delta isn't the right option, but Delta hired so many young folks.
They did.
Over the past 5 years. Somebody that's 35 that's going on the bottom of the list, I've read things online, I don't know how true it is, but like, you may never be able to hold wide body captain as a new hire, somebody, in their 30s like that, because those people above them are going to retire later than them. And so, is there any truth to that? Do you have any thoughts, or do you advise clients on that at all?
So the answer is, of course, if you look at it right now at this moment, when you look at Delta Airlines, and they very profitable, United and American have been nose to nose the past couple years, which is great. The fleet size, United has a much bigger influence on the wide body side of the house, but they fly from the U.S. West, and they've had a lot of difficulties with Russia and Israel and airspace availability and all those things. But then you have Delta. We've got a ton of 757s and 767 300s and 400s, and those are they've got an expiration date, right? And you hear the rumors about, there's going to be a 350 order, there's going to be this or that or the other. And it really depends how they want to replace their fleet. And you can't, again, so you roll the dice, whether you are, whether you're not. That's kind of where it's going to go. Yeah, you're going to be really stifled if you're in your 30s. You're never going, I think when I retire, I'm going to be like mid 5,000 or something like that in a seniority number. But I'll tell you this, if you are looking to go to a company like Delta or United or wherever, you should find somebody that already works there and get them to log into the ALPA website, because they have a really cool pilot dashboard on there that shows all the projections and all the trajectories, and you can see each company. Well, you can see, like, if you find a Delta person, that Delta person can show you their company, or a United person can show you their company. And you can see where that person's seniority number is basically trending. If nothing else changes, this is what the trend would look like. And it gives you some really interesting insight. Nothing you can, plan your life around, but it's cool to see right now. So do you want to be the wide body guy? Do you not want to be the wide body guy? I mean, like, how many times you want to check in and do cell call checks and all that other stuff? It just depends,
That's a good answer. All right. So I think we all probably agree Southwest is probably the move, right? It sounds like.
Yeah, totally. They're getting wide bodies. I heard they're buying 787s.
Yeah. I saw a picture one on Instagram.
No, they're getting 900 Maxes, I heard.
Yeah, right.
Great deal.
I heard that there's going to be reduced seating on one of them because they're just going to leave one of the doors open on the side. I saw Alaska was doing that too.
Oh my God. That's a whole other episode. This feels like we're back in 2019. Remember when the biggest thing in aviation was we were talking about the Max grounding?
I'm so tired of hearing about the Max in the news.
We had a reprieve that day that the 777 lost its engine cowling and ended up in somebody's front yard. That was one of the best days.
Right. Remember the simpler time when we were just looking for a lost 777? It just disappeared.
Yeah.
Well,
oh my God.
We found that. That was the aliens. We figured that out. So
that works.
What's next?
Just teleported that one. Okay. I think that hopefully that helps.
Sorry for lowering your listenership, fellas.
No, not at all. That was good. Thank you to the listener who wrote in with his location. That was very helpful.
We should have a questionnaire.
Yeah.
Where do you live? How many kids do you have? How old are you?
That's true, Nick. Maybe you can help us develop. Have Anna help us write all these things, and then
we should do that in the flight advice form.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, we'll get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Before you can submit it, you have to click saying that you promise to follow back up.
That's right. Yeah.
Follow up is you promise if you receive some useless advice to follow up in 6 months. Let us know what happened.
Unless it was bad advice, then we're good.
No, even then, we're like, oh, well.
Well, that one didn't work.
Sorry about that one.
Glad it wasn't my life.
That was Nick.
Oops. Yeah, that was Nick. Diamond Dog. That was it. Blame that on the Diamond Dog.
We'll rescind his Diamond Dog card immediately. Don't worry.
Nick, anything exciting coming up on the Ready for Pushback podcast we need to put on our radar?
The whole year is going to be very interesting. Got new sponsors coming, and then also we're going to have some really cool interviews with some pretty senior people in the airline industry. And we're going to follow those up with live webinars where pilots can put in questions, and I will ask those questions and get them from those people that are influential in our business. And I can't kind of tell you who or what yet, but listen to Ready for Pushback. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be a fun year unless everything falls apart. And then it's just going to be a fun year.
Hey, listen, the flute is in storage.
Yeah. Next time we check in with Nick, he'll have done 724 podcasts. It's going to be unbelievable. The new aviation podcast king.
Listen, man, I'm just finishing our first year. Like hundreds of thousands of people listening is so fun. It's unreal, the response. So thank you to everybody that does listen. And the real reason I did it was so I could get to talk to you guys.
Yeah, that's a valid reason. I validate that. Well, congratulations on all your success. Appreciate the advice for our listeners. We'll look forward to another Diamond Dog session with you soon, Nick.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate you guys.
Talk to you soon.
Thanks, man. See ya.
All right, Max. Episode 1 of 2024. Thanks to Nick for joining us for flight advice. Thanks to Harvey Watt. Thanks to Advanced Aircrew Academy for sponsoring this episode. And thanks to all of our listeners who've gotten us 5 years down this rabbit hole, professional aviation.
When will it end? No one knows.
And professional aviation or this podcast?
I don't know. It'll be, listen, it's the good news about aviation. See, there's always something to talk about because it goes up and then it'll go down and we'll have to dust off the furlough flute and we'll play that tune.
Yeah.
And everything will go crazy again and we'll get James on here. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
We have to go through a full cycle of aviation in this show because then you could just recycle the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. We don't even have to. That's it. We only need to do this for like 6 years. It'll be perfect.
Yeah. Then you can release it one every 3 days. So you just continue to chop them up and sprinkle them out upon it to the audience.
Oh, we're in a episode 27 situation.
Oh, we have a daily podcast now.
Like upload the whole database to AI and it'll like search through and it'll know. It'll be like, oh, this is an episode 29 situation and it'll just shoot it out.
Pretty soon, we're not going to have to do anything. We're just going to upload this into AI. It's going to produce the podcast, and we won't have to do anything.
It'll be good. We'll be focusing on delayed passengers and getting ramen. That is going to do it, folks. Info 215 podcast if you want to get a hold of us. Until next week, remember.
Hotel night stays are the keys to lifetime status. Thank you.
Visit MarriottBonvoy.com for all details. Flexibility is the key to air power. See you, folks. The statements made in this show are our own opinions and do not reflect, nor were they under any direction from any of our employers.